this video, we're going to cover all of the pattern pieces that are required for the mini bifold credit card wallet using vinyl, leather, or cork, and where they are in association to the wallet itself. So in front of me, I have all the pattern pieces that you are going to require for this wallet. So this is the wallet right here. This is the little mini bifold wallet. It's as cute as a button and it holds some great things. So let's just talk about the pattern pieces. You're going to require 2 pattern piece A's, which are your side front. So that is this area right here and right here. So those are the 2 side fronts. This is pattern piece B, which is your back center panel. So you can see right back underneath there's a piece of black. That is the center panel. That's what your braid is going to be sewn to. And speaking of braid, this is your piece for your braid, which is 1.5 by 10 inches in length. You're also going to need on your exterior this piece right here, which is your binding strip, which is right here for the top of your ID pocket. And you're also going to need your clear vinyl for that ID pocket. Now this portion right here of the wallet is the back wall lining, which is right here. And this piece does need to have interfacing added to the back of it, and a medium weight, something that's got some good stability. This portion right here, which is pattern piece E, is your credit card slot. So this area right here is what needs, this is this piece, and it all gets folded up into position for your credit cards. This, of course, is your stabilizer that goes into these areas for your credit cards so that they're nice and stiff. Now, in your stabilizers, you can use fusible buckram, EB Fuse Heavy, or Decaville Light, whatever you wish. You're also going to need some Michael's peel and stick foam. Now, if you don't have the self-adhesive one with the peel and stick, you can purchase this on a roll without the adhesive, and then you just have to glue it into position. And that's what gives this wallet some body. And of course, you're going to need your frame. This is a 4.5-inch frame. Now this pattern is written for a 4.5-inch frame. However, sometimes when you're placing an order for them, they come at 4.3, which makes it a little narrower. And I have added a video for this wallet to show you how to cut back your piece in order to accommodate a 4.3. So if you happen to have one that wasn't quite 4.5, there is a video there in the pattern that will show you how to alter your pattern, your finished wallet, so that it will fit. So basically, this is your wallet right here. And this is a great little wallet that you can take to the grocery store. You can put your ID in it. You can put your license and a couple of cards and stuff like that. And it's just really great. You can even slip it into your back pocket. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with section 1A, which is going to be completing your exterior and your braiding. So let's head over and start this wallet. So now that you know where all the pattern pieces are on the wallet, let's get started and assemble our exterior. So basically what I want to show you are the pattern pieces that are required for the section of 1A, and that are the 2 pattern piece A's, the pattern piece B, as well as this braiding strip. Now this braiding strip is going to be subcut later on so that we can do the braiding. And I just want to mention, if you are using a one-way print for your exterior, you want to make sure that if your flower is, if it's directional, if there's a flower on this, for example, and there's a flower in the top, then you want to make sure that you are aware that this is the front with the right side, and when it folds over, the back could be upside down. So you may want to consider seaming this piece right here if you want both those pieces facing the right side. And if you do, you will need to make sure that you add a seam allowance in here. So basically, let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my braiding piece and my back piece, and we're going to prepare our 2 pattern piece A's. So as you can see, I've removed most of those pieces and I have kept my 2 pattern piece A's. So there you have them. That's the right side of pattern piece A. Now you want to flip these pieces over to so the right side's down and your wrong side is up. I have gone ahead and already added my lines on here. So what you need to do is you need to draw a line down each piece 3/4 of an inch in and parallel to that 7-inch end. So I've drawn a line right here and I've drawn a line here. So you should have one line on both pieces. I've also gone ahead and added some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape along that edge right there of the wrong side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel that paper off that double-sided tape just like that. And I'm going to fold over this edge so that it is just below that line. You don't want to cover that line. You want to still see that line. Fold that over into position just like that on that side and peel the paper off of the double-sided tape on this side and do the same thing. So you want to repeat that process and fold that over just like that. You can use a poly roller if you wish to roll that to smooth that out. Now what you want to do is you want to retrieve your pattern piece B, which is this piece right here. I'm just going to lay that down so that it's right side down and I'm looking at the wrong side. You do need to apply another piece of double-sided tape to both of these pattern piece A's. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before I apply this piece on. So I'll add this double-sided tape and it's going to go right on top of where you placed the other double-sided tape. So in other words, it'll be on the right side of the folded over edge. As you can see right here, it'll be right there. Snip that piece off. Do the same thing on the other side, just like this. Oops, sorry, got in the wrong spot, just like this. Right up to the end. Now, the way you're placing this double-sided tape, it will be out of your way when you go to stitch, so you don't have to worry about your machine needle gumming up at all. So now what we need to do is we need to take our pattern piece B and attach it to the pattern piece A's on both those sides. So I'm just going to turn this a little bit because it's easier for me to work like this. So I'm going to peel that paper off the double-sided tape just like that. And I'm going to align this 7-inch edge on top of pattern piece A so that it is aligned with that edge I folded over. So I'm just going to start at one end and place this just like this on top. Let it fall down in position. Now, if you have a little too much on the edge like that, which I do, I'm going to go back because I may have pulled it. So once again, I will place that down there. You don't want to be pulling this piece at all. And you also may have cut it a little longer. So if I get that same amount, so I have a little bit left over and I will be trimming that off later on. Same thing over here. Peel the paper off that double-sided tape and align that side edge, that 7-inch, with that edge you folded over. Once again, making sure that you don't pull or stretch anything. So now your piece should look like this from the wrong side. I'm going to flip it over so you can see what it'll look like from the right side. This is what it'll look like from the right side. You have a nice fold here and a nice fold here. Now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch pattern piece A's to that B section. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to come approximately, if you can get it at 1/16 of an inch, that's great. If you can't, then 1/8 of an inch will be fine. Don't go any larger than that. You just don't want to risk jumping off of that fold, especially with leather, because once you put a hole in it, then you're done. So let's head over to the machine and we'll top stitch down this side, making sure we back stitch well on both ends. We will be doing some trimming off on the end, and we'll top stitch along here, securing those pieces together. Again, back stitching well down here and up here. So let's head over to the machine and do our top stitching. Okay, I'm here at my sewing machine and I'm using the HD9 for this wallet, and I am using a 1/16 of an inch compensating foot. So what we're going to do is we're going to come along and we're going to stitch along that folded edge on the one side, back stitching well as the other side. So let's do our stitching. So as you can see, I'm back from the machine and I have top stitched all the way down that folded edge right there. Now, if you can't get close to like 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 will just do fine. I'm going to turn this piece over so the right side's down. Now, I've gone ahead and released that 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape off the edges of pattern piece B, which is your center back. And what you want to do is you want to trim that back. Be very, very careful. So I'm just trimming this back so that I leave approximately 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch. So you just want to trim that back. That will reduce the bulk on the front. Do the same thing on the other side. So there you have it. I have trimmed back that pattern piece B and removed the double-sided tape so that it reduces the bulk. So I'm just going to turn this over to the right side so you can see this is what this piece looks like. I'm going to turn it this way just so that I can do my trimming. Now we need to reduce the length of this piece down from 7 inches to 6 3/4. And the reason that we're doing that is because there may be some inconsistencies, as you can see, in your sewing. So what I like to do is I like to use a squaring ruler. If you happen to have one, that's great. If you don't, then you just need to line up that side edge, making sure that it's straight, and also pay attention to these lines here. You want to make sure that they are straight as well. So I'm actually going to line up this fold along this line right here and over here, and that should line up everything else on this side. I still got a bit of double-sided tape down on there so it's able to stick for me. So what you want to do is you want to trim this back. Now, if you don't have a straight edge and you're a little bit off here, then you want to start by trimming back a little bit. Remember, we only have 7 inches, so you just want to trim back a very little bit, making sure that it is square and even. So I'm just going to take that little bit off. This is why you back stitched well on both ends. And then I'm going to take my squaring ruler and I'm going to find my 6 3/4, which is right here. I'm going to align that 6 3/4 along that bottom edge, and I want to make sure that this is nice and square up here. Again, we want to make sure everything is straight and squared in position. And I'm going to then remove what's left on the end just like that. So this is why you back stitch. Now, if you wish, you can at this point place a little bit of glue right there on those stitches to make sure that if you have cut them and they unravel, then that will stop them from unraveling. So now that completes the front exterior until we put our braiding on. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the braiding information so I can tell you how to cut and start braiding the piece to be added to the center of this wallet. So I now have retrieved my pattern piece C, which is my braiding piece and my braiding strip. And before we cut this, I just wanted to tell you a little bit. If you are using leather and it's very fibrous, you may wish to add some gum tragacanth on the back just to seal that off. The instructions are in the pattern on how to do that. I'm just using vinyl, which has no furry side. It's nice and sealed, so I'm not too worried about any fibers or anything coming off. So what I've done is I've drawn a line at 1/4 of an inch at this end. That's going to be my guideline where I begin my strips. So I'm going to be cutting 5 of them because this is a 5 strand. Now there's enough width actually to do 6 strand, but sometimes we go a little crooked when we are cutting. So you want to make sure that that last piece is not crooked. So we're just going to cut it right off. So what you want to do is you want to align a clear ruler on that 1/4 of an inch line. So we're going to be cutting 5 strips that are 1/4 of an inch in width. And I'm just going to start right down here where that line is. I'm going to secure this ruler really, really well so it doesn't move on me, and go all the way down that end just like that, sliding that piece. Oh, I didn't quite get through. That's that section right there. Just want to slide this piece over to the side and place the ruler one more time down on top of that cut edge that you just did at the 1/4 of an inch. Do the same thing, go all the way down, and you're going to repeat this until you have, oh, it looks like I need to get a new blade, until you have 4 strips done. So I will continue here now and I will show you how to do this. Put a little bit more pressure on that blade. There's 3. And then there's, if you have to use your finger to align everything up on the ruler, there's 4. And my 5th one, I'm going to just go right across that whole piece because I want to trim off the excess. So I want to make sure everything's lined up, and I'm just going to take it right from back before that line I drew right up so that I remove that whole piece, and that's just garbage. So what we have done is we have cut this strip so that we have 5 strips of 1/4 of an inch wide pieces that are going to be used for our braiding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all set up and taped to my table, and I'm going to show you how to do the braid. Okay, let's get braiding. As you can see, I have set my braiding strips up and I have taped them to my table. I have placed numbers up at the top. Now we're going to be cutting some of this off, so don't worry about if you're using a pen or a pencil or disappearing. I've just used a pen, and I'm going to number them starting from left to right. So I've numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 1 being the furthest one to the left, 5 being the furthest one to the right. So let's begin our braiding. You want to move 1 and 2 over and out of the way, and number 5 over and out of the way, just like that. Number 3 and 4 are kind of in the center. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take number 4 and come over top number 3, just like that, so that number 4 is now sitting beside number 2. You notice that I have the right side up and the wrong side should be down on your table, so pay attention to that as well. So I'm bringing that piece now, number 3, and it will be sitting right beside number 5. So now we're going to take number 2, and that's the middle one. Pay attention to this because this is very important. You'll always be moving number 2 over. So number 2 will now go over top of number 4, just like that, so that it's sitting right beside number 3, which is on the right. So now you have 3 strips to the right, which are 2, 3, and 5, and 2 strips to the left, which are 1 and 4. Now what we need to do is we need to bring number 5 over. And in order to get under number 4, it's very easy to lift it up. So basically this is number 3, I should say. So we've got to go take number 5 under number 3. So as you can see, this is number 3. What I need to do is I need to lift that up and out of the way so that I can get number 5 under there. So I'm just going to take number 5. I'm going to tuck it underneath number 3, over top of number 2, so it's sitting right beside number 4, just right like that. And then I'm going to bring number 3 back down on top of number 5. I'm just going to spread them a little bit more so I can get a nice tight braid. We now need to bring number 1 from the left over to the right, and we need to go under number 4. So you want to place your finger there and lift number 4 up and out of the way. And then you can tuck number 1 underneath number 4, and it will go over top of number 5 so that it's sitting over to the right, right beside number 2. Then bring number 4 back down on top of number 1 so that number 1 and number 4 and number 5 are beside each other to the left, and number 3, number 2, and number 1 are beside each other to the right. So what you've done is you've began the whole process of the braiding. You've completely taken all of the 5 strips and encased them within themselves right now. So at this point, it's basically the same order all the way through. When you see this center one, when you have 3 to the side, that center one needs to be lifted up and out of the way, and then the outer edge needs to come under it and over top that one. So in other words, I'm going to lift up number 2. So lift that up and out of the way. And this is number 3. It's going to come tuck underneath number 2 and over top of number 1. So it's now over to the left side, and number 2 is going to come back down. So you can kind of see the order of how this is going to go. And you can kind of maneuver each of these little scalloped areas. The wider that you open those pieces up, the tighter your braid is going to be. And we're just going to continue the same route. The center one lifts back, goes under it and over that to the other side. So you will always be lifting up. You'll always have 3 on one side and 2 on the other, and you'll always be lifting up the middle one on the 3 side and then tucking it under, so that there you will get 3 to one side and then 3 to the other. So I'm just going to continue down all the way until I have completed my braiding. Now I've reached as far as I can possibly go with these strips. So I'm now going to take a piece of Scotch tape and just place that over top the end so that it doesn't unravel, and run it to the back side just like that. Now what I want to do is I want to flatten this whole thing out as well as pull on it. So I'm just going to take this off of the table. I'm going to put it on my plate steel, and I'm going to hammer this braid so it flattens it out a bit. This is very important to get that nice and flat, as you can see. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and retrieve our exterior, and I'm going to show you how we apply this braid now to the exterior of our wallet. Okay, I've retrieved my exterior and I have my braiding all ready to go. I have gone ahead and applied a strip of 1/4 inch double-sided tape right down the middle of the back. So you'll want to do that to your braiding strip. Now before I peel that paper off, I want to see exactly where I want to place this braid. So what's going to be the best, if I'm going to go this way or this way. And I do like this from the bottom, so I want to get rid of some of this excess to the top. As a matter of fact, it's kind of tight, so I'm just going to open that up a little bit. So I just want to place this from this point. Now you have a frame that goes across there, so you don't have to worry about maybe exposing some of that straight edge area right there. So I might just put it just like that. So I'm going to take a pin. Actually, I'm just going to mark that so I know exactly where I want to place that. And it's key to keep everything straight and aligned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel the paper off of the double-sided tape just like that, and I'm going to place that right down there just like I had marked, so aligning it right like that. And you want to make sure that this braid is well centered within that center panel. So you want to make sure all of the scallops and everything are nicely placed and even. You do not want to have your braid going twisted like this, because that won't look as nice. So as I go along, I kind of make sure that everything is nicely into position, just like that. You want to make sure it's well centered. Take a look to make sure that you're even and your space is even before you actually go to the sewing machine and sew this. I'm going to turn this way to take a look. Make sure you see this side is a little bit further over. So I'm just going to lift that up and realign that just like that. Make sure it's nice and tight. I'm going to take a poly roller and I'm going to roll that down into position just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to attach our braid to this exterior. You're going to begin up here at the top, and 1/8 of an inch is what you probably want to come. If you do 1/16, you run the risk of missing that area in between the scallops. So I generally will align that scalloped outside scalloped edge with my 1/8 of an inch foot, and then I come down and I stitch using the same stitch length I did on the exterior sides all the way down the one side. I back stitch down here, and then I turn and pivot, come across that bottom piece, turn, pivot, back stitch, and then go all the way down that other side, back stitch, and then come across that area right here. Then we can trim off the excess. So let's head over to the sewing machine and get this braid stitched to the exterior. Okay, our braid has now been added to the exterior of our wallet and it looks gorgeous. So now what you want to do is you want to trim away the excess off of both ends now that you have secured them with that stitching. So you just want to cut them exactly along that line that you had for the centerpiece when you trim that back. Make sure that you get nice and straight. So that completes the exterior portion of this wallet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue to section 1B in the next video, where we're going to begin assembling the lining for this wallet.